All right, here we go again. So the easiest way to look at it, and it isn't only just running, but what happens or what would happen if your local police department sent a few cars over to Home Depot and everybody started running. They get out of their cars and run after them. Because why? Because that's a indicator of criminal activity. Right? Their training and experience tells them people that run generally either, if local cop usually thinking they have drugs on them or a gun on them, right? Or have a warrant. That's another one. Again, there it is, have a warrant, but they don't have to have a warrant. They could just be, guilty of a crime. So again, that's the easiest way to look at it. ICE is no different, even though everybody's trying to make them look different. They're federal law enforcement officers. Majority of them, I guess, are 1811s. I don't know if any are not. I don't look to see who they're using. Well, because years ago, on the fist operations, and they might still do it, U.S. Marshal Service in New York, because we had a couple of, I think at least one. Betty Ann was one. She was an administrative employee. She wasn't a criminal investigator. But when they went out on their fist operations and all that, which is their roundups, same type of thing, task force operations, they would take their admin people along. And they would process. They'd be part of the jump out crew, but they would be part of they would actually process them. They would do all the administrative work on site, right? And, maybe, I don't even know what else they did. I can't even remember. But she was, Don Rackley was there. Inspector Rackley was one of the instructors, and he and her had worked together in New York. So he said, well, Miss whatever her name was, I don't know. She's passed on. I think they said it was possibly related to 9/11. She was at Ground Zero. She was in my class. Our class was heavy on admin and prior military. Admin, people that were admin that were going criminal investigator. And that was true even about the 1811 portion of the course, because not all of them were going to become deputies. Some, well, maybe they were. I can't remember, to tell you the truth. I knew there was, I guess the one guy was a NASA. We had some NASA auditor in there. I think we had a couple of them, or one. I think, right, and they were. He told us that he said when he was investigating some fraud, waste, and abuse, they got a letter from a senator, and everybody had to stop investigating. So it was interesting, mix of people. But she had done, so I don't know if ICE is using who they're using, but generally I think the majority would be 1811 criminal investigators. And just to let you know, that's what an FBI investigator is. That's what a HSI investigator is. That's what any full investigator in the federal government. That's what they are. That's what I'm an 1811, right? Or was at least. Once an 1811, always an 1811 more. Vladimir Fletzy. Thank you. So again, there's no reason for them not to act, and actually, they have a professional obligation to react. No, you didn't run after that guy, and that woman was in there, because when the lawsuit comes, and that woman was in that guy's apartment, and now she's dead. She will live. I think the family definitely has been harmed, and Right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's just the way the world works. Are they manipulating it? Maybe, but investigators are manipulative. But again, there is a limit. And that's what I'm trying to say. They shouldn't. Again, you can ruse, but you can't intentionally lie to a judge about why you were somewhere. Right. Right. There are limitations. But I'm saying, don't say, oh, this guy here, we thought he was there and he wasn't there. Don't lie. It's really easy. Right. Identify somebody that's there, that has a removal order, and then you're in. Just takes one person, because everybody else is going to run. And if it's an employer, the way it works with the employer is that if the employer hires one undocumented immigrant, then you can look at everything because you don't know, you have to figure out what it is. Because there could be a case against the employer. Right? So you have to identify who everybody is. That's just like when there's a screwy traffic stop, everybody gets identified. Right? If there are indicators of criminal activity, the officer will identify everyone. Right? To ascertain what's going on. So again, reasonable suspicion, probable cause. Right. Thank you, Larry. So it's the same thing. I'm just trying to break it. Because what they're doing is they're trying to take ICE out of the norm of law enforcement and try to act like there's some, red-headed Donald Trump. Orange-headed Donald Trump. Right. So law enforcement, you just change the ICE people and the task force people and the Border Patrol people out for a uniformed officer. And what would your uniformed officer do if he pulled up to Home Depot and a bunch of people ran? He'd call for backup while he's running after them. Right. But if you have a task force operation and you're looking for a fugitive and people run, and not always, because in the Marshal Service, sometimes we don't. Matt Burke and I went into a Eastern Shore. We had the raid jackets on, and we went into an Eastern Shore Wendy's for lunch. And it was all it's Eastern Shore's heavy immigrants, agriculture, construction. And they're all looking at us wondering if they should run, I didn't notice it at first, so Matt's like, look around. I'm just going in for lunch, So again, it's, the judge may be wrong. The appellate court might still be wrong, again, because I think it was all, like Obama people and Biden people. And again, it's a big deal with the Democrats. You have to stop this thing, and right. But, their order there are limitations on the order, basically by what they articulate, but also they're not allowed to stop certain things, and the order doesn't necessarily stop it. It just kind of touches on it. But if you have, if A is, again, the idea is to create these, quick cards, and they look at them, and if A is present, is B present, boom, you're in, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, I get law enforcement. Law enforcement officers told me in the mind routinely that they won't prosecute certain things, but I've gotten law enforcement in to investigate. They've done the investigation and they know what's going on, which helped law enforcement because I got them in by making certain allegations that were true, and the officers investigated it and they prepared a case and they didn't prosecute. But yet the officers now can share information between themselves as to what's actually going on out there. Right? Just like we now know what the LDS Church is up to. Before we didn't. Now, I went to the LDS Church like I did anywhere else in life in good faith. It's all of you that acted in bad faith. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, I've gotten law enforcement into all sorts of places, or law enforcement officers. Well, like it should be. You should be doing what you're doing. And I mean, when it's in missing exploited children and those type of investigative entities, it's horrific. But the cult says, this is the highest order of human being, to be a corrupt piece of shit devil in missing exploited children and play the game, right? Instead of doing your job. Why would I say it's them? Because they let me know it was them before. I know it's there. Right. Now, that's their scam. Like they'll give you information just so you articulate and go, how did he know that? He must be. But everybody knows I'm a psychic anyway. Okay. And an investigator. Right. So they'll feed you, or they'll feed the information. Go, see, he knew it was us. That's why he didn't try to rape her. I mean, it's bullshit. They'll throw an investigation just to say, oh, he knew it was us. Right. And then they, like, one officer said to me, he says, you know, they say shit like this. It makes no freaking sense. Well, he didn't do it because, you know, we were law enforcement and it's against the law. Well, it's like, but I think that's why everybody else doesn't do it also, because it's against the law. I mean, they're just crazy pieces of shit, man. Work with a ton of them. All right, I'm going to get offline here because I don't want to dirty the prayer thing with all this. So.